The call disconnected. Daniel Mercer stood beneath his grandfather's house with his phone pressed against his ear. Behind him, something wearing his grandfather's voice whispered from the darkness. "Don't let them leave Blackridge." Daniel didn't turn around. He ran. His shoes slammed against the stone floor as he raced through the tunnel. Behind him came footsteps. At first, there was only one set, then two, then three. Within seconds, the tunnel filled with the sound of dozens of people running after him. "Daniel," his mother's voice. "Wait!" Evelyn's voice. "You're going the wrong way." Sheriff Vale. Then his own voice. "Stop running." Daniel reached the staircase. He climbed. The footsteps followed. Closer. Daniel reached the narrow door and threw himself through it. He slammed the door. The moment it closed, everything became silent. Daniel pushed the dresser against it. Then he backed away. His hands were shaking. His phone rang. Sheriff Vale. Daniel answered. "Where are you?" "Upstairs." "Get out of the house." "What are those things?" "Daniel, listen to me. Leave now." "You told me neither of them was me." Silence. "Vale?" "Get to your car, drive directly to the sheriff's office." Daniel looked toward the narrow door. Something knocked from the other side, 3 times. "Why?" "Because Arthur is dead." Daniel swallowed. "I know." "No." Vale's voice dropped. "You don't understand." Another knock. Arthur was the only reason the roads were still open. Daniel ran downstairs. He grabbed his keys. Outside, the forest was completely still. Daniel climbed into his car. The engine started. He drove. He didn't look back at the house. 3 miles separated the property from Blackridge. Daniel drove them in less than 2 minutes. The sheriff's office appeared ahead. Daniel pulled into the parking lot. Empty. The lights were off. He called Vale. No answer. Daniel entered. "Sheriff?" Silence. The desk lamp was on. Vale's coat hung over his chair. His radio rested on the desk. Daniel heard static, then a voice. "Daniel?" He grabbed the radio. "Vale?" Static. "Daniel, where are you?" "At your office." The radio went silent. Then Vale spoke. "I'm standing outside your grandfather's house." Daniel froze. "What?" "I told you to come here." "You told me to go to the sheriff's office." "No." Daniel stared at the radio. Vale continued. "Whatever called you wasn't me." Something moved in the hallway behind Daniel. He turned. Empty. Daniel whispered into the radio. "What do I do?" "Leave the office." "Where do I go?" "Anywhere with lights." "The diner?" Vale hesitated. "No." "Why?" "Evelyn disappeared 23 years ago." Daniel stopped breathing. "What?" "Daniel, Evelyn Shaw is dead." The lights went out. Daniel ran. He crossed the street toward the gas station. Locked. The church. Locked. Every building was dark. Then he saw the diner, lights glowing through the windows. Evelyn stood behind the counter. She waved. Daniel stopped. Evelyn smiled, then slowly raised one finger to her lips. Daniel backed away. His phone rang. His mother. He answered. "Mom?" "Daniel." She was crying. "Where are you?" "Blackridge." Silence. Then she whispered, "You need to leave." "I'm trying." "Don't trust anyone." "Mom, what happened when I was 7? She began breathing faster. "Who told you?" "Sheriff Vale." "Daniel, listen to me." "What happened?" "You disappeared." "I know. We searched for 3 days. Where did I go?" "I don't know." What happened when I came back? His mother started crying. You weren't the same. Daniel looked toward the diner. Evelyn was gone. What does that mean? You knew things. What things? You knew about people who were missing. Daniel said nothing. You drew pictures of tunnels. His mother continued. You drew people standing underground. Daniel remembered the chamber, the photographs, the other Daniel. Mom. Yes? Did Grandpa know what happened to me? He knew something. What? He believed you never came back. Daniel felt cold. What? Arthur believed the boy who walked out of the forest wasn't you. Daniel closed his eyes. That's insane. I know. You raised me. I know. You're my mother. I know. Daniel heard something behind her, a knock, 3 times. Mom? She stopped talking. Another 3 knocks. Mom, don't open the door, she whispered. Daniel. What? Someone is outside. Don't open it, she began crying. It's you. The call disconnected. Daniel called back. No answer. He ran toward his car. Sheriff Vale's truck appeared. It stopped beside him. Vale opened the passenger door. Get in. Daniel hesitated. How do I know you're really Vale? The sheriff looked at him. You don't. Daniel remained still. Vale reached into his pocket. He removed a photograph. Daniel recognized it. Arthur's funeral. Vale stood beside the grave. You asked me why Arthur left you the letter 17 years ago. Daniel stared at him. What did you say? I said Arthur knew you'd come back. Daniel climbed inside. Vale drove. Where are we going? Out of Blackridge. You said the roads were closed. I said Arthur kept them open. What does that mean? Vale looked at the rearview mirror. Your grandfather spent 30 years keeping something beneath this town asleep. What? I don't know. You expect me to believe that? No. Vale accelerated. I expect you to survive long enough to see it yourself. They reached the edge of town. A sign appeared. Thank you for visiting Blackridge. Daniel looked behind them. The town disappeared. The forest surrounded the road. For the first time, Daniel felt relief. They had escaped. 10 minutes passed, then 20. Vale kept driving. Daniel looked at his phone. No signal. How far is the next town? 20 miles. Daniel looked ahead. The road curved. They passed a sign. Welcome to Blackridge. Daniel stared. No. Vale continued driving. 5 minutes later, another sign. Welcome to Blackridge. Vale stopped the truck. Daniel looked behind them. The road was empty. What now? Vale turned around. We try another road. They did. North, then south, then west. Every road returned them to Blackridge. By sunrise, they had passed the same diner 11 times. Vale parked outside the sheriff's office. Daniel stared at the empty street. We're trapped. Vale said nothing. How long? I don't know. You've seen this before. Vale looked at him. Once. When? 1987. The year from the missing person files. The mine collapse. Vale nodded. Daniel followed him inside. Vale unlocked a storage room. Boxes covered the floor. Newspapers, photographs, maps. Vale spread a large map across the desk. Blackridge. Beneath the town were dozens of tunnels. Daniel recognized one. It led beneath his grandfather's house. What are these? The Blackridge mines. The mines were under the house? They're under everything. Vale pointed to the center. 39 years ago, miners opened a chamber that wasn't on any map. What happened? 3 days later, the mine collapsed. How many died? Officially? Vale looked at Daniel. 114. And unofficially? We don't know. Daniel frowned. What does that mean? Because people kept coming home. Daniel stared at him. Vale opened a box. Inside were photographs. Families, workers, children. The first miner returned 2 days after his funeral. Daniel picked up a photograph. The families thought it was a miracle. It wasn't. What happened? More returned. How many? All of them. Daniel looked up. All 114? Vale nodded. At first, they seemed normal. At first, they remembered their families, their homes, their lives. Vale paused. But they also remembered things they shouldn't. Like what? Places beneath the town. People they had never met. Events that hadn't happened yet. Daniel remembered the photograph dated tomorrow. What happened to them? They disappeared again. All of them? Within 1 year. Where? Vale pointed downward. The mines. Daniel walked to the window. People were appearing on the street. Residents opening businesses. Cars moving. Blackridge waking up. How many people in this town are real? Vale stood beside him. I stopped asking that question years ago. Daniel saw Evelyn unlocking the diner. She disappeared 23 years ago. Yes. Then what is she? Vale looked at him. I don't know. Daniel crossed the street. Vale followed. Daniel, I need answers. Evelyn won't give them to you. Then I'll make her. They entered the diner. Evelyn smiled. Coffee? Daniel slammed the missing person photograph onto the counter. It showed Evelyn, 23 years younger. You disappeared in 2003. Her smile faded. Where did you go? Evelyn looked at Vale. You told him. He needed to know. No. She turned toward Daniel. He needed to leave. We can't leave. Evelyn closed her eyes. Then Arthur failed. Daniel stepped closer. What did my grandfather do? Evelyn walked toward the door. She locked it, then closed the blinds. There are things beneath Blackridge. We know. No. Evelyn turned. You know there are tunnels. You know people return. You don't know why. Daniel waited. Evelyn sat down. Blackridge doesn't bring people back. Then what does? It remembers them. Daniel said nothing. When someone dies here, something beneath the town keeps them. Their memories. Their voice. Their face. Everything. Vale crossed his arms. And then, sometimes, it makes them again. Daniel thought of the other version of himself. Copies. Evelyn nodded. Why? I don't know. Then how do you know this? Evelyn looked at Daniel. Because I'm not Evelyn Shaw. Silence. Daniel stepped backward. What? Evelyn died 23 years ago. Vale reached for his weapon. Evelyn ignored him. I remember dying. Daniel stared at her. How? I was driving home. Someone was standing in the road. I swerved. The car rolled. I remember the glass breaking. I remember being unable to breathe. I remember dying. She looked down at her hands. Then I woke up beneath the town. Daniel whispered. In the tunnels? Yes. Were you alone? Evelyn looked up. No. Who else was there? Everyone. The room became silent. Daniel thought of the missing people. What happened? I ran. How did you get out? Arthur found me. Daniel stared at her. My grandfather? He knew the tunnels better than anyone. Why didn't he destroy them? Evelyn laughed quietly. You think he didn't try? Vale stepped closer. What stopped him? Evelyn looked toward the floor. The town. The lights flickered. Evelyn stood. We shouldn't have talked about this. Daniel frowned. Why? Because it listens. The lights went out. Something knocked on the diner door. 3 times. No one moved. Another 3 knocks. Then a voice. Evelyn. Evelyn turned pale. The voice belonged to a woman. Please let me in. Evelyn began shaking. Daniel whispered. Who is that? Evelyn looked at him. My daughter. Daniel looked toward the door. Your daughter is dead? Evelyn shook her head. No. Then why are you afraid? Because I never had a daughter. The knocking stopped. Vale drew his weapon. A shadow moved past the windows. Then another. Then dozens. People surrounded the diner. Daniel recognized some from the missing person photographs. Vale whispered, We need to leave. How? The kitchen. They ran. Behind the diner was an alley, empty. Vale led them toward his truck, then stopped. Someone stood beside it. Arthur Mercer, Daniel's grandfather. Vale raised his weapon. Arthur smiled. Thomas. Vale froze. Daniel looked at him. You know he's not real. Vale didn't move. Arthur stepped closer. You left me down there. Vale's hands began shaking. Daniel looked at him. What is he talking about? Arthur continued. You closed the tunnel. You heard me knocking. Vale lowered the weapon. Daniel grabbed his arm. Vale! The sheriff stared at Arthur. You died in the hospital. Arthur smiled. Did I? Evelyn whispered. Run. Arthur's face changed. Not physically. Something behind his expression disappeared. The smile remained, but the person wearing it was gone. He ran toward them. Vale fired. The bullet struck Arthur's chest. He fell. Daniel stared. Vale approached the body. Blood spread across Arthur's shirt. Daniel whispered, Is he dead? Arthur opened his eyes. Again. They ran. Vale drove toward the abandoned mine. Daniel looked at him. Why are we going there? Because Arthur left something. What? A way out. They reached a rusted gate. Beyond it stood the entrance to the Blackridge mine. Vale opened the trunk. Flashlights, rope, weapons, old maps. Daniel looked at Evelyn. You're coming? I've spent 23 years avoiding that place. Then don't. She looked toward the mine. If Arthur is gone, avoiding it won't matter anymore. They entered. The tunnel descended.
The deeper they went, the colder it became. Daniel began hearing whispers. At first, he couldn't understand them. Then he recognized the voices. His mother, his grandfather, himself. Evelyn stopped. "Don't answer them." "Why?" "They learn from you." Daniel looked at her. "What does that mean?" "Every time you speak to them, they remember more." Vale stopped. "Then nobody talks." They continued. Eventually, they reached a steel door. Arthur Mercer's name was carved into it. Vale opened it. Inside was a room filled with journals, maps, photographs, and hundreds of cassette tapes. Daniel picked one up. Daniel, age 7. He found another. Daniel, day 2. Another. Daniel, returned. Daniel found a tape recorder. He inserted the first cassette. Arthur's voice played. July 14th. Daniel has been missing for 26 hours. The sheriff believes he wandered into the forest. He's wrong. I heard Daniel beneath the house last night. Daniel looked at Vale. The recording continued. He was knocking from the other side of the door. He begged me to let him out. But while Daniel was knocking beneath the house, I could see him standing in the forest. The tape ended. Daniel inserted another. Arthur's voice. Day 3. We found Daniel. He walked out of the forest at sunrise. My daughter believes her son returned.
The boy remembers me. He remembers his mother. He remembers his home. But last night I asked him what happened beneath the house. He smiled and said there were 2 of him down there. Daniel stopped the tape. No one spoke. Then Vale found a map. A section of the mine was circled. The first chamber. Underneath, Arthur had written, "Do not let Daniel return here." Daniel stared. "That's where we need to go." Vale shook his head. "No. Arthur knew what happened to me. He wanted you away from that chamber. And now he's dead." Daniel picked up the map. "If there's a way out of Blackridge, it's there." They continued. The tunnels became narrower. They passed abandoned equipment, helmets, boots, lunchboxes. Then they found the first body, a man sitting against the wall. Daniel checked him. Dead. Vale looked at the clothing. Mine uniform. Daniel saw the name tag, Robert Hayes. Vale looked afraid. What? Robert Hayes died in the collapse. Daniel looked at the body. How long has he been here? Evelyn examined him. Not long. Daniel stepped away. That's impossible. The body opened its eyes. Thomas. Vale backed away. The dead miner smiled. You came back. Then every light in the tunnel turned on. Hundreds of old mining lamps, one after another, illuminating the darkness. People stood along the walls. Men, women, missing residents, dead miners, all watching them. Evelyn whispered, "Don't run." Daniel looked at her. Why? They like it when you run. One person stepped forward, then another. Vale raised his weapon. Daniel looked ahead. At the end of the tunnel was a doorway, the first chamber. Go. They ran. The people followed. No screaming, no growling, only footsteps. Hundreds of footsteps. Vale reached the chamber first. Evelyn followed. Daniel entered last. They slammed the steel door. Something struck it from the other side. Again. Then silence. Daniel turned around. The chamber was enormous, larger than anything beneath the town should have been. Rows of people filled it, thousands, standing motionless. Daniel whispered, "What is this?" Evelyn covered her mouth. Vale raised his flashlight.
The beam moved across the crowd. Daniel recognized faces, people from Blackridge. Some were standing beside identical copies. 2, 3, sometimes dozens of the same person. Daniel walked between them. None moved. Then he saw Evelyn. Another Evelyn. Then another. And another. Daniel turned toward the woman who had entered the chamber with him. She was crying. "I told you." Daniel looked at the copies. "I don't know which one I am." Vale called from across the chamber. "Daniel!" He had found something, a section filled with children. Daniel moved closer. Every child had the same face. His face. Daniel at 7 years old. Hundreds of copies, some sleeping, some standing, some staring directly at him. Daniel backed away. One child spoke. "You left us." Another opened its eyes. "You got to grow up." Then another. "Why you?" All the children opened their eyes. Daniel ran. He reached the back of the chamber. There was one adult standing alone. Daniel stopped. It was him. Same clothes, same face. The Daniel from beneath his grandfather's house. His eyes opened. "You came back." Daniel raised the weapon Vale had given him. "Who are you?" The other Daniel smiled. "The better question is," he stepped forward, "which one of us did Arthur take out of Blackridge?" Daniel froze. "What? You think you escaped when you were 7? The other Daniel laughed. "No. Arthur chose one of us." Daniel shook his head. "Why?" "To keep the town asleep." Behind them, the hundreds of child copies began whispering, the same sentence, over and over. "One Daniel leaves. One Daniel stays. One Daniel leaves. One Daniel stays." Daniel looked toward Vale. The sheriff had gone pale. "You knew." Vale said nothing. "You knew what Arthur did." "Daniel, tell me." Vale looked at the ground. "Your grandfather made a deal." "With what?" Before Vale could answer, the entire chamber shook. One enormous heartbeat echoed through the tunnels. The copies opened their eyes, every one of them. Thousands. Evelyn whispered, "We need to leave." The other Daniel looked toward the darkness. "No," he smiled. "You need to stay." The chamber doors opened. The missing people entered. Behind them stood Arthur Mercer. He looked at Daniel, then at the other Daniel. For the first time, Arthur looked confused. "Which one of you opened the door?" The ground shook. A crack appeared across the chamber floor. Black liquid began rising from beneath it. Vale shouted, "Run!" The copies moved. Thousands of people rushed toward the exits. Daniel was knocked to the ground. He lost sight of Evelyn, then Vale, then the other Daniel.
The chamber filled with screaming. Daniel crawled beneath a metal platform. He watched hundreds of copies escape into the tunnels, into Blackridge. Then someone grabbed his ankle. Daniel turned. The other Daniel. He pulled Daniel closer. "You want to know which one of us is real?" Daniel kicked him away. The other Daniel laughed. "Neither." The chamber shook again. The floor collapsed. Daniel fell. He landed in freezing water. Darkness surrounded him. He swam upward. His head broke the surface. Daniel turned on his flashlight. He was inside another chamber, smaller, older. The walls weren't stone. They looked almost alive. Daniel heard breathing, not his own. He raised the flashlight. Someone was chained to the wall. An old man, thin, weak, alive. Daniel approached. "Who are you?" The man slowly raised his head. Daniel stopped. Arthur Mercer, his grandfather, older than Daniel remembered, covered in scars, but alive. Daniel couldn't speak. Arthur stared at him, then whispered, "Daniel?" Daniel stepped closer. "Grandpa?" Arthur began crying. "No." He pulled against the chains. "No, no, no." "What? You shouldn't be here." Daniel looked toward the tunnel above. "I thought you were dead." Arthur stared at him. "The thing you buried wasn't me." Daniel felt his stomach turn. "Then who was it?" Arthur looked toward the darkness behind Daniel. "Something I kept trapped beneath Blackridge for 17 years. A noise came from the water. Daniel turned. Nothing. Arthur whispered, "Listen to me." Daniel looked back. "There's something you need to know." "What?" Arthur stared directly into his eyes. "You were never the reason I kept the door closed." Daniel heard movement behind him, slow footsteps emerging from the water. Arthur's face filled with terror. "I kept it closed." Daniel turned. Dozens of figures stood in the darkness. Every one of them had Daniel's face. Arthur finished the sentence. "To keep you from finding the others." The copies smiled. Then one of them spoke. "Welcome home." And somewhere above them, throughout the town of Blackridge, every door opened at exactly the same time. End of part 2.